On March 15th, 44 BC, a senator named Artemidorus is outside the Theatre of Pompey in Rome holding a piece of paper. That piece of paper has the names of all the men who are going to kill Julius Caesar. He knows. He has written everything down. Caesar comes. Artemidorus pushes through the crowd and gives him the note directly. Caesar accepts it. He puts it with the other requests in his left hand. He doesn't read it. He walks through the door and into the hallway. He is dead on the floor in less than an hour. This is the most well-known day in ancient history. 7 different warnings. 7 times people told Caesar what was going to happen. He didn't stop 7 times. Stay with this if you want to know how the most powerful man in Rome walked into a trap he could have avoided. We are going back to the morning of March 15th, 44 BC. The city wakes up before the sun. The bakers are already busy. The people who sell bread are already walking through the streets toward the forum. There were between 800,000 and 1 million people living in Rome in 44 BC. The biggest city in the Western world. It runs on an early schedule. At dawn, the Forum Romanum is already busy. Slaves are bringing messages, merchants are setting up their stalls, and senators in togas are getting ready for the day's work. The 15th of March is the Ides of March, a day that is important in the Roman calendar for some religious events. In and of itself, it's not a day that anyone thinks will be special. Today, Caesar is supposed to speak to the Senate. This is normal. He goes to the Senate a lot. For 10 months, he's been a dictator. In 44 BC, the word dictator didn't mean what it does now. It is a formal Roman office that is given out in emergencies for a set amount of time. There is no set end to Caesar's term. This is the issue. The position of dictator was always temporary. The dictatorship of Caesar will last forever. That's what it looks like from the Senate floor at least. The men who want to kill him are not crazy. They are senators, and many of them were pardoned by Caesar after fighting against him in the Civil War. They have been getting together in small groups for weeks, in private homes, at dinner parties, and in quiet hallways. There are 23 men. The night of March 14th, Caesar is having dinner at the home of Marcus Lepidus, who is in charge of his horses. As it often does, the talk turns to death. There is someone at the table who asks Caesar what kind of death he would like. The sources don't agree on who it is. Caesar says, "Surprising." He means it as a philosophical response. A sudden death is better than a long one, and it's better than dying in fear. It's a good thing to say at a dinner party. That night, he goes home to his wife, Calpurnia. For days, she has been worried. She is about to get a lot more worried. Calpurnia has a dream at night. There are differences in the details of the sources, but the main idea is the same. She sees Caesar killed, sees blood, and wakes up scared. By Roman standards, she is not a superstitious woman, but this dream is so real that she tells Caesar not to go to the Senate in the morning. This is the first warning. At first, he doesn't take it seriously. He says it's okay to stay home. Then a plotter shows up. Decimus Brutus, not Marcus Brutus, is one of the people who planned the plot. He is also one of Caesar's best friends. He goes straight to Caesar's house when he hears that Caesar isn't coming to the Senate. This is the most dangerous time for the plot. The plan falls apart if Caesar stays home today. The people who are planning the crime can't keep it a secret forever. Every day the plan is in place, someone talks about it. Decimus tells Caesar that the Senate is ready and waiting. He says that putting things off will make him look weak, spread rumors, and make people think that Caesar is listening to his wife's dreams. This hits the ground. Caesar is very aware of how he looks. For the past 20 years, he has worked hard to build a reputation for being brave, both physically and morally. He doesn't want people to think he's scared. He says no to Calpurnia. He tells her, the dream doesn't mean anything. He puts on his clothes. He gets ready to leave. This is the time. 23 men will go home angry, and eventually get caught if he stays. He is walking into the trap they have set for him. If he leaves, he leaves. Decimus walks next to him. One of the men who will stab Caesar is the same man who convinces him to go to his own death. Because he has been sick, Caesar rides in a litter, which is a sedan chair that is carried. This winter he hasn't been very healthy. Seizures, maybe epilepsy. On the way from his house to the Theatre of Pompey, where the Senate is meeting today, a few things happen that don't seem like warnings at the time. A soothsayer named Spurina had told Caesar weeks before to be careful on the Ides of March. Caesar sees him on the road and yells, "The Ides of March have come!" Spurina answers without a smile, "Yes, they have come, but they haven't left yet." The litter from Caesar moves on. The litter from Caesar goes by. Spurina sees it leave. This is the second warning, and Caesar thinks it's funny. A man named Artemidorus is waiting near the theater. He has spent days learning the names of the people who were involved in the plot from different sources. He has written them all down. He pushes through the crowd and gives the note directly to Caesar. He gives it to Caesar. He looks at the other petitions that are already in his hand. He doesn't read Artemidorus's note first. At the same time, a few other people give him petitions. He has them all. He goes into the theater. Artemidorus calls after him and tells him to read that note right away. Caesar keeps on going. This is the third or maybe fourth warning, depending on how you count. The Theatre of Pompey is huge. It was the first permanent stone theatre in Rome, built by Caesar's old rival and father-in-law, who died 3 years ago. The Senate is meeting in the Curia of Pompey, a hall next to the theatre that is being used while the main Senate house is being rebuilt. The Forum's regular Senate house is being rebuilt. For months now, people have been using this temporary room. In the front of the room, on a raised dais, is Caesar's chair. He sits down. The senators stand around him, which is the right way to approach a senior judge. The people who are plotting against him get close to him. There is no need for a special arrangement. It is normal to go to Caesar with a request. Some of them have very good reasons to be close to him today. One senator, Tillius Cimber, asks Caesar to bring his brother back from exile. In a petition, Caesar says no. Cimber takes Caesar's toga. This is the sign. The first blade comes from behind Caesar's head. A man named Casca is holding it. The cut isn't very deep, and Casca is nervous because the angle is strange. In either Latin or Greek, Caesar grabs Casca's arm and says, "You bad guy, what are you doing?" Next, the other people move. There are 23 men with knives in a room made for speeches, and one man in a toga is alone. 23 people who were involved in the plot. 23 cuts. This number is very clear in the old texts. In the middle of all that stabbing, a lot of the conspirators hurt each other. The sources do not say anything good about this. Caesar fights back. He is 55 years old and has fought in wars. He is not inactive. He puts his toga over his face when he realizes he can't get out. The old texts say that Caesar falls at the foot of the statue of Pompey, which is in the Senate hall. This detail might be too neat to be true. Also, it's the kind of detail that sticks in your mind because it seems true. The senators who aren't involved in the conspiracy leave the room. The people behind the plot had planned for this and thought it would happen. What comes next is something they didn't fully plan for. They are standing in the Curia of Pompey, covered in blood and holding their knives. There are 1 million people in the city who don't know what has just happened. They thought the city would be happy about the murder. They thought that people would see it as freedom from a dictator. They hadn't done enough polling on this idea. The city doesn't want it. The city goes into a panic. The streets are empty, the doors shut. The forum stops talking in a way that it shouldn't. When Caesar falls, the notes he was holding fall too, including the one that Artemidorus wrote. It is found with him later, still unread. They wrote down the names of all 23 conspirators and gave them to the man they were going to kill. 7 different people had told him over the course of 24 hours. He had the names in his hands. He didn't read them. People have different reasons for this, including being arrogant, being distracted, or making a conscious choice not to read private messages in public. All three are possible. Caesar had lived through a civil war and years of fighting. He had been told before and nothing had happened. At some point in everyone's life, warnings that don't work stop being warnings. He also made a political choice not to have a bodyguard around him. A dictator who always has armed guards with him looks like a tyrant. Caesar was careful about how things looked. The irony is that being careful about how you look, choosing to look approachable and not scared, is what makes the assassination possible. He wasn't unaware, he wasn't dumb. He made a series of smart choices that, when taken together, led him to walk into a room with 23 armed men. Mark Antony, who worked with and supported Caesar, is outside the building when the murder happens. He hears the news and runs away. He doesn't know yet which way this is going. Marcus Brutus, the most well-known of the conspirators and the one whose involvement Caesar was said to be most shocked by, goes to the Capitoline Hill to speak to the people. People pay attention. They don't cheer. They don't riot to show their support. They listen quietly and then leave. Brutus didn't expect this kind of reception. The people who planned the assassination did so with a lot of thought. They didn't plan the 2 weeks after that with the same care. They will have to pay for everything. Antony starts to move once he realizes that the city is not celebrating the conspirators. He makes sure that Caesar's papers and will are safe. He sets up the public funeral. He reads Caesar's will to the people at the funeral. Caesar gave every Roman citizen 75 denarii, which is about 3 months' worth of pay for a regular worker. He has also made his gardens on the Tiber a public park. The crowd wasn't sure how they felt about the assassination. They are not unsure after the will. The people who planned the crime leave Rome within a few days. Within 2 years, Brutus and Cassius are dead. The republic they tried to bring back never comes back. They think that what comes back is worse. It takes Octavian, Caesar's grandnephew, 13 years to become the first emperor of Rome. He does it. The republic ends with Caesar, not because of who he was, but because of what his death means. He held the note in his hand. The names of all the men who were going to kill him were written down and given to him directly. He had other requests in his hand. He already had a Senate ready and waiting. He was known for not looking scared. There are a dozen good reasons not to read another note. It wasn't exactly wrong for any of them. They just weren't enough for the morning of March 15th, 44 BC. The most well-known assassination in ancient history happened because a man who had survived everything didn't think it would happen that day in March. It's a mistake that people make all the time. That's probably why people are still talking about it 2,000 years later.